Why is meditation so hard? I get this question a lot, or more, I get the question of, I'm no good at meditation. I lack discipline. I can't meditate. It doesn't work for me. But all of that is because meditation is hard. So I'm going to share with you today the 5 reasons meditation is hard. There is so much research right now about how good meditation is for you. And I have experienced this personally, and I have also seen my clients experience the benefits of meditation when they can commit to a practice. So, why is it so hard? Why is it so hard to learn? Why is it so hard to commit to a practice? It should be easy. You just sit, focus on your breath, easy. So, let's talk about this. So, the number one reason that meditation is hard is that we think it should feel good. We think meditation should make us feel good, and it does not always make us feel good. So, meditation is used in many different traditions, and different traditions have different reasons for meditating. But there is a core to almost all traditions where meditation develops your concentration and your insight. So in Buddhism, the eventual goal of meditation may be enlightenment, but the interim goal is to improve concentration and our insight. And developing concentration is a practice like anything else. It is like doing your exercise. Exercises don't always feel great. And then developing insight, sometimes that feels really good. Sometimes we don't always like what we find. So that's going to connect to reasons 2 and 3. But meditation does not always feel good. If we can accept that, if we can accept that there is an effort required, meditation does not simply transport us into a blissful, peaceful place. For most people, to get to that blissful, peaceful place takes a lot of practice and exercise. So if we can let go of this notion that it should be making us feel good early on in our practice, or even years in, my meditation does not always feel good. And I've been meditating now for 30 years. So if we can let go of the concept that we should feel good if we're doing it right, we will be more likely to stick with it. Reason number 2 that meditation is hard is that meditation increases our awareness of our thoughts. And if we tend to have a lot of anxious thoughts, if we tend to overthink, if we tend to project disasters, if we have a lot of chaos going in here and then we sit down and we're quiet and we settle our bodies, it's almost like this accelerates. So that is a necessary step on the path to meditation, on the path of meditation, I should say. It is a necessary process of meditating, is the increased awareness of actually what's happening here. So it's kind of like, okay, well, I am projecting into the future this disastrous scenario again and again. Or I'm reviewing old regrets again and again. We begin to understand our themes. We begin to see how our thoughts are or are not serving us. And that is not always an easy process. And that is the insight part of meditation. So that's reason number 2. It increases the awareness of our thoughts. And reason number 3, meditation increases our awareness of our feelings. And sometimes our feelings are the ones we don't really like to feel. And we spend so much time in this world. And I used to sort of say, like, in our society here in the US, but now that I'm getting to know people around the world, these issues are so universal. But we spend so much time running away from those bad feelings, from the feelings we don't want to have. We don't want to feel anger. We don't want to feel sad. Definitely don't want to feel grief or loss. So we run away from these feelings. Meditation doesn't let you run away. Meditation, you're calm, you're here, and all sorts of things can come up. And again, this is a needed stage in meditation. And it's also very healing and helpful in all sorts of ways for making progress in our life. Our feelings exist for a reason. There actually are no bad feelings, but that's for another video. But in the meditation process, yes, feelings might come up. When I've gone on long retreats, there'll be periods, there'll be days where suddenly I'm crying. I don't know why. And I know I'm not the only one because it happens to a lot of people. Or people will come up with memories they haven't had in a long time. So it might sound a little bit scary, but it's actually so cathartic and healing to be on a really long retreat where you allow yourself the space to feel feelings that you haven't felt in a long time. In our society, we numb these feelings out. We overeat. We overuse social media. We're always scrolling to keep busy, 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 or we're working too hard, or we're too addicted to relationships, or we're addicted to alcohol or benzodiazepines, or we just like use all of these different chemicals as well as internal body chemicals as well as behaviors to numb ourselves out so we don't feel those negative emotions. But when we numb out the negative, we also aren't leaving room for the positive. We need all of our feelings. So that is the third reason meditation can be hard, is that you have an increased awareness of your feelings. Now, before I talk about the last two reasons meditation is hard, I want to give you a little hope here. Because if you're thinking, wow, this practice is simply going to make me really aware of what's going on here and really aware of all these negative feelings that I want to feel, later, right? You'll be like, later, I don't want to do that. So the process here and the reason that the research shows, even on a brain level, how positive this practice can be for people, is that with increased awareness, we can begin to make changes. We can begin to rewire how our brain works. We can begin to choose healthier behaviors that then we feel better about ourselves. So I do have a free webinar, if you have not seen it, Rewiring Your Brain for Joy and Confidence. And I'm including the link below here so you can join that webinar. And I do go into some of the research of how meditation actually physically changes the structure of your brain in a positive way. It calms down your amygdala, it calms down your fight, flight, freeze response over time. It expands your hippocampus, which is about memory and emotional regulation and all sorts of good stuff. It expands the region of the brain where there's gray matter for compassion. So there is a reason to stick with it. There is a reason to stick with the meditation, even if it doesn't feel good, even if it feels hard. So there's a reason. So just wanted to give you that hope, because I don't want to go through these reasons and leave you with a feeling of like, yeah, now I know why I don't meditate, right? So reason number 4 that meditation is hard is we don't like boredom. Meditating, particularly once you get to a point where you really calm down what's going on in here and you actually stay present, there can be a lot of boredom. Now there's 2 kinds of boredom. There's hot boredom, which is that kind of itchy, anxious feeling of like, oh, I got to get up off the cushion. I got to go do something. I have to go do the dishes, write my to-do list, accomplish something on my to-do list, make this phone call, write something down, do, right? So that is what we call hot boredom, and that's actually a form of anxiety. And then there's cool boredom. Cool boredom is like, yeah, okay, I'm pretty bored. I'm staring at the same floorboard here in the moment. Nothing's happening. As humans, boredom is really hard for us, but it also can be really good. Remember, we're trying to reset. We're trying to reset all sorts of things. We're trying to honor ourselves, that we are human beings. We don't have to be human doings. There is an honoring and a spiritual element to being in silence and present with yourself. But the boredom can take us away, right? The human brain is designed to like stories. If you think about it, like you would never go to a movie that was about a happy person living a happy life and nothing happens. Yeah, you wouldn't go see that movie, right? We like movies that have intrigue and drama and conflict and problems, and somebody overcomes a problem and then another problem hits and blah, blah, blah. And those are great movies. We get involved in the story. Well, our brains like that. And we do that for ourselves. And we live that way. We live in this drama in our heads. And yet it's not actually reality so much of the time. And it can be causing all sorts of problems, right? All sorts of anxiety and chemical reactions in the body that aren't healthy for us. So the counter to boredom is motivation. So once we begin to benefit from meditation, once we begin to feel the benefits, fizzle through our lives, where we feel calmer, we're not as stressed, we're not reacting to things as much, we're responding more. We can see improvements in our relationships, we can see improvements in how we're handling things. Once all of that begins, it's then very reinforcing. Like for myself, if I don't meditate first thing in the morning, I feel it later in the day. It does not feel as good to me. So it becomes motivation for practice. So when you're beginning to start a practice, and even at different periods along the journey, right, at different periods of time, you might fall in and out of being able to keep up a regular practice, and that is pretty normal. Yet having some kind of motivation, so having a group that you sit with can be super helpful. Having a teacher, having a tradition that you're connected to, having a view of how this can benefit you both spiritually and practically, right? And understanding how this benefits your brain, like I discussed in that webinar, right? Or you do research on your own, but having motivation that can really help you get through the boredom and the tedium that you might feel sometimes when you meditate. So, reason number 5 that meditation is hard is that we think it should be easy. So, this connects very much to reason number 1, which is that we think it should feel good. We also think it should be easy, right? You just sit, follow your breath. Anybody could be able to do that. Why can't I do it? There must be something wrong with me. But no, meditation is hard. And if we let go of the thought that it should be easy, we can do it. So I use the analogy of, like, I don't know how many of you know burpees, but burpees are a difficult exercise for me. So I do exercise classes. I might do some high intensity. I might do some weightlifting, but the high intensity classes use burpees a lot and they are miserable for me. So why do I do them? And if you think about it, if you exercise, there might be some exercises that you do that you really dislike. Why do you do them? You do them for the result. So sometimes when you sit on the cushion, you can think of this as like, this is your burpees. And for those of you who don't know, a burpee is like you do sort of like a squat, jump, plank, you do a push up, you kick your legs back up, you jump back up, and then you jump again. So yeah, it's exhausting. So sitting on the cushion, sometimes it will feel good. Yeah, sometimes it will. Sometimes it will be miserable. Sometimes you'll feel like you've got ants crawling all over you and you just got to jump up and go do something. And the more you can discipline yourself in a positive, gentle, encouraging way, because that's also a very tricky word to use. People don't like that word. But I mean it more in terms of I know this is good for me and I'm going to put in an effort. And I also want to say, in the Buddhist traditions, meditation was seen to be something that was passed on from one individual to another. You needed a teacher. In Buddhism, there's a very strong view that you need a teacher to pass on to you instructions about meditation and the philosophies and how you apply it in your life. It was a hand to hand, a person to person to person tradition, and people used to travel, in fact, still do. But even way back in the early days of Buddhism, people traveled long distances to find a teacher who resonated with them. So having a teacher for meditation, joining a local center, joining a group online, the kind of support and accountability. So many people right now are trying to learn meditation totally on their own from a book or a YouTube video, right? And it is not that easy to learn because you're beginning to work with your mind, and it's really helpful to have some guidance and outside perspective. Otherwise, when we try to solve our problems and shift things with the same mind that's stuck in its old ways, that doesn't always work. So meditation can be hard, and having a teacher, a group, some support, super useful. And I want to talk very briefly about a daily practice. But before I do that, if you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and share it with somebody who you think it could benefit. And if you've appreciated it as well, please subscribe to my channel. That's a big help, actually. So establishing a daily practice can be hard, and we often say it's because I'm too busy, I don't have time, or I get distracted, or the mornings don't really work, but then by the nighttime I'm too tired. We have all of these reasons. But honestly, I think that the main reason it's hard to establish and maintain a daily practice is that we think this should feel good. We think we should get benefits from it right away, and it doesn't always feel good, and we don't get those benefits quickly enough. So, a long term view is needed. And again, this is where community support can really be helpful. But a long term view is needed for meditation practice. But I can tell you, I have seen people transform if they can stick with a meditation practice 20 minutes a day for 6 months. And that doesn't mean you have to do every single day. You do 6 days out of 7, that's great. But I've seen people really transform in fairly short amounts of time. And I know that for myself, the practice has been dramatically transformative. So I wish you health, healing, and happiness.